Welcome to Spooky Ass Shit. I am your host, Eric Winnells, back from a little break, little holiday time break. We all need that in our lives once in a while. And I do have a guest tonight. She's somewhat of a reluctant guest. We're going to talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, Fatima Elmi.
Hi.
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 Look at you sounding so pleased to be here.
I am.
Now, the reason I said this is because, you know, Fatima in the past, she's come on and she's been a little quiet on certain episodes. I found out the hard way she does not enjoy, although she loves watching true crime shows.
Yes.
She doesn't really enjoy discussing true crime cases.
No, I guess not. I mean, with you personally, yeah, but not for the public, I guess. I don't know.
She just likes to do it in private.
Yes.
But we've got a lot of good feedback on the episode that we did together about Children of the Corn.
Okay.
So I said, let's do another movie episode.
Mm-hmm.
And so we decided to do Lost Boys.
Right.
And then we went to record it a while back, and Fatima all of a sudden freaked out on me. And she didn't, to be fair to her, she never said she wouldn't do the episode. She just strongly implied that she didn't want to do the episode.
That's right.
And she said it's because she thought I was going to do all the talking and she would just chime in here and there.
Yeah.
And I said, no, these kind of episodes, we kind of discuss the movie and we talk together about, you know, what we found interesting or funny or whatever about the movie. And she had a little freak out.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you're afraid to talk.
Yes, because I feel like I don't have, fun things to say.
And yet, as I said before, people enjoyed the last episode that we did. So I think, first of all, I think that you are more interesting than you think you are when you say things in reference to the movies and the little points that you pick up.
Okay. Well, thank you.
But also, I think that you are a good launching point for me a lot of times, because I'll comment on something and you will kind of pick something up on it. We go off each other well, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. I mean, that's great. That makes me feel better. That's so much pressure now.
All right, we're canceling this episode too.
No. Let's do it.
All right,
I'm ready.
Listen, if you are listening out there, not long ago I asked people who their favorite guest co-host was, and you were on people's lists.
Well, that's very sweet. I do appreciate that.
So if you're a Fatima Elmi fan, this is an important time for you to write in and say whether or not you enjoyed this episode, because this could be her final appearance on the show.
It could.
Tonight we're talking about the movie Lost Boys.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing about this is we watched this a while ago.
Right.
And we didn't take copious notes or anything like that. So we are kind of talking out of our asses here.
Yeah.
We did rewatch some clips and take some notes and that kind of thing recently. But I grew up watching this movie. I can't say that I've watched it hundreds of times or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Maybe not even yearly. But as a kid, I loved this movie. I still love the movie. I have it on DVD, and I throw it on every once in a while.
Mm-hmm. And
we're going to talk about some of my celebrity encounters with some of the cast members.
Oh yes, exciting.
And all that kind of stuff. But before we get into it, let me remind everyone to please check out the website spookyas.com or spookyasshit.com. They both take you to the same place, and that is the show's blog page. From there, you can listen to each and every episode, and you can also hear the episodes that are no longer available on iTunes. The early episodes, we lose a new one every week. So if you don't have them already, that's the only place you're going to find them is on the website. And you can also find links to our social media. We are at Spooky Ass Shit on both Instagram and Twitter, and you can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/spookyas. While you're there, don't forget to join our closed group, Spookaroos, if you are, in fact, a true blue spookaroo.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, The Lost Boys is a kind of like a teenage comedy horror movie, I guess I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
About vampires. Set
Okay.
in the 80s.
Awesome.
Came out in 1987.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going to do a lot of time, and I say this every time, but I really mean it this time. We're not going to do like a scene by scene rundown of the movie.
Right.
The basic idea is this. This family, the Emersons, move out to Santa Clara, which is... Or Santa Carla.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Santa
Jeez.
Carla.
I'm already screwing it up. I told you, we didn't take notes on this. And Santa Carla, which is the murder capital of the world. And the opening scene is great. They have People Are Strange playing by the doors.
Yeah.
And you see all these weird boardwalk people in this California beach town.
Right.
Which is really Santa Cruz. We'll get into that in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And you see a lot of like missing person posters.
Right.
It's all intercut with these missing person posters. And what we find out is that these people are missing because they've become victims of vampires. So whether they've become vampires or were just murdered by vampires, who knows? But they're victims of vampires.
Mm-hmm.
And the vampires are, in fact, the Lost Boys.
Cool.
Although that term's never used in the movie.
Oh, it isn't?
No.
Huh.
And the leader of them, the seeming leader, I should say,
Right.
is a character named David, who is played by Kiefer Sutherland.
Kiefer.
Very young Kiefer Sutherland.
Mm-hmm.
With a rock and roll mullet.
Yeah. Billy Idol.
Yeah, but he's Billy Idol on the top. But, like, Billy Ray Cyrus in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
And we'll talk more about some of the other Lost Boys and everything, but
Mm-hmm.
basically this family, they have a teenage son, the family that moved to Santa Carla.
Right.
They have a teenage son named Michael and another younger teenage son named Sam.
Mm-hmm.
And they get mixed up with this vampire crowd, and Michael is kind of initiated into the vampire cult, and he starts becoming a vampire himself.
Oh.
Spoilers, by the way.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen this movie from 30 years ago, although Fatima just saw it for the first time. So.
I did. Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you haven't seen the movie, definitely you should probably watch it before listening to this episode.
Yeah.
But then it just becomes about the family fighting to survive against this vampire clan and turn the older brother back into a normal living person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're going to do as far as scene by scene breakdowns go. But we are going to talk about some things specifically.
Okay.
Now, a couple interesting things that I learned from some YouTube videos. They have like the 10 things you didn't know about Lost Boys or interesting facts about the movie Lost Boys. First of all, it was supposed to be like a kid's movie originally.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And the boys were not supposed to, because they're like older teenagers.
Right.
Maybe even young 20s. I don't know.
I would say young 20s.
Yeah, but I think the idea is that they're supposed to be like older teens.
Okay.
Like 18, 17,
Okay.
19.
Yeah.
But originally, I guess, the idea was that the vampires and Michael, the older brother, were supposed to be about 14.
Mm-hmm.
And the Frog brothers and Sam, the younger brother, were supposed to be more like 8 or 9.
Oh, really?
And the Frog brothers weren't supposed to be like weirdo comic book store owners. They were supposed to be like Boy Scouts.
Okay.
So, see, we do have to describe the movie a little bit because people don't know who the Frog brothers are.
Exactly.
So, but again, if you're listening to this, I'm assuming you've seen the movie. So the Frog brothers are Corey Feldman.
Right.
And some other guy. And they work at, or perhaps own, but they seem rather young to own a comic store.
I don't think they own it.
They work at a local comic shop on this boardwalk. And they run into Sam and advise him to buy some vampire comics because it will teach him how to fight vampires.
And Sam is played. You have to say who Sam is played by.
Sam is played by
Corey Haim.
Corey Haim.
Yeah.
So this is
two Coreys.
Yeah. So if you're of a certain generation, this will mean something to you.
Right.
Because this is the first time the two Coreys were together.
Woo.
Now this, I was alive during this time, but I was
But
real
you were
young.
young, exactly.
So I didn't know like the two Coreys was like a thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
But apparently they became a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they made like several movies together.
Right. Yeah.
And they were two like cute boys named Corey.
Yeah.
Like Jonas Brothers or something. Jonas Brothers is a dated reference now too. I don't know. I don't know who the like hot young boy band group is, but that's kind of like it's on par with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like
yeah. They
group.
were big. They were like on Teen Beat, those magazines, and
yeah. So so this is their first pairing, and I will say, I remember watching this as a kid. My mom loved Corey Haim.
Yeah, I think he was the cuter one out of the two.
Yeah, well, she thought he was cute, but he's very likable in the movie too.
Yeah.
So and funny.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's got good delivery, comedic
right.
delivery. So, what?
Not Feldman.
Corey Feldman's he's funny in a different way, but his
character was so interesting.
Yeah. Well, so you want to talk about that? You remember the interesting fact we learned about that? Go ahead.
Oh. No.
See, I know that you know the answer to this.
Well, why
so I'm
are
giving you an
no.
Oh, see what I'm dealing with?
You can intro it and then I'll just play
and then
off
you'll
of
say
you.
yeah. But I was trying to make it so that you could say something.
I don't want to say anything.
Jesus Christ.
Go ahead.
Brian Tony liked your last episode so much he said that should be the show.
I mean, honestly,
so this is it. This is what it would be. This is what you would get.
This is what it would be, and this is not okay.
All right, Corey Feldman.
Yes.
Is in this movie, and he plays one of the Frog Brothers.
Right.
The one that talks. Really.
Yeah.
The other one doesn't really say much.
No.
And he has like a certain way of speaking, and it's and he wears a red bandana and camo.
Right.
And that is because the director told him that his character basically believes that he's like Rambo and Chuck Norris, like those kind of action movie stars, like all rolled into one.
Right.
So then Corey Feldman was like, oh, yeah, okay, I'm going to try that. So he kind of delivers every line like this.
I thought it was so weird when I first saw the movie.
I think I picked up on that right away, but see, I was a kid who did like pretend to be Rambo and stuff. Like, but when you're a kid, you don't think of it as like pretending. You think of it like, no, today I'm John Rambo.
Yeah.
So when I saw the movie, I was probably just like, well, yeah, he's a John Rambo. Like I'm a John Rambo. Like this is it.
Right. I definitely did not.
Guys.
But when
we
you
can handle ourselves against a bunch of vampires if we can survive the jungles of Nam. We can handle this.
But when you were pretending to be John Rambo, did you do that voice? Like this
probably
Stallone voice?
Yeah, when I was like playing with my figures and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
At least in my head.
Yeah.
Probably out loud.
Well, I didn't pick up on that when I first saw the movie.
I mean, I mostly played with my wrestling figures when I was a kid, but I definitely did voices for them.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I still do a pretty good Macho Man and Hulk Hogan, but that's for another day. All right. So, what were we saying about the? Oh yeah. So the Frog Brothers kind of end up becoming like the vampire experts because they've read these comic books about how to deal with vampires, and they're trying to help younger brother Sam cure his brother Michael and hunt down these vampires later on. But yeah, originally they were supposed to be like Boy Scouts, and that's why they had all this knowledge of like how to make traps and stuff like that.
Okay, got it.
But that was when Richard Donner was supposed to direct because he had directed Goonies, and Goonies was a big hit.
Yes.
So they wanted like another juvenile adventure movie.
Right.
But Richard Donner, I forget what the deal was, but he went and did something else. Like it fell through.
He went to direct Die Hard, they said.
Oh, was it Die Hard? Yes, that's right. You're right. It was Die Hard. See? Good job.
Thanks.
And so Joel Schumacher stepped in.
Right.
Joel Schumacher is the man who ruined Batman later on. But right now...
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oof. He did the crappy Batman 90s movies.
Ooh.
And, but before that, he made a pretty good teenage vampire movie. But it was his idea to like bump up the ages so that he could add a little like sexiness to it.
Right. That's right.
Which I think works really well because this really is, I mean, if you take out the vampires, you'd probably have kind of a lousy movie, but it is essentially like an 80s teen movie.
Right. Late teens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
And that is a really fun, genre, in my opinion, and probably a lot of people's opinion. And it's totally different. Like of course there are like teen movies in the 90s too.
Yeah.
But I was a teen maybe it's because I was a teen in the 90s and I was just like, this is nothing like how we are.
No.
Maybe when in the 80s I was a kid looking up to teens and I was like, oh, they're so cool. Maybe that's why.
Maybe.
This is just hitting me now.
Ah, I like that.
They're having a breakthrough.
I like that.
But anyway, like when I watch those 80s movies, there's a sense of like fun about them that I think you don't find in other movies.
Right.
There's still like they weren't cynical, you know.
Yeah.
They might be cheesy and they might be all those things, but they're not like bitter and cynical and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's true of this movie too. I think it's a really fun movie. I'm not saying it's the best vampire movie ever. I'm not saying it's the best movie ever made, but it's a good, fun movie it's thoroughly enjoyable.
Nothing can beat the 80s, those kinds of movies from the 80s, especially because of the music.
Right. Well, we're going to get into a big discussion of the music in this movie. But, well, speaking of the music, so another interesting fact is that Kiefer Sutherland, like you said, plays seemingly the head vampire in the movies, the main bad guy, seemingly, for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
And he apparently was not going to do the movie.
Why?
Until he found out that In Excess was going to be on the soundtrack.
That's right. Okay.
And I don't know a ton about why that would have so much to do with why he would do the movie then, but that's what these...
He was totally digging In Excess.
Yeah, I know, but just because they're going to be on the soundtrack doesn't mean they're in the movie. It doesn't mean like... I don't know, maybe... I don't know. But anyway, they say because he was a big fan of In Excess, that's why he agreed to do this movie.
Yeah.
When he found out they were going to be on the soundtrack.
Absolutely.
They didn't write the soundtrack.
They were
did
just
a song
probably
on it.
featured on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know why he would do a movie because he heard they were going to be on the soundtrack. But anyway, side story. In Excess.
Yes.
When I was in high school, we went to London on a trip.
Nice.
And, you know, they have Madame Tussauds Wax Museum.
Right.
But at the time, and maybe they still do, I don't know, they had a second one.
Okay.
Called Madame Tussauds Rock Circus.
Cool.
Which was all just like rock and pop music people.
Okay.
And there's one section that they had for rock stars who passed away. It was like specifically, it was called The Crypt, and it looked like a crypt, but then they had these wax figures.
Oh my gosh.
And they didn't look like zombies or anything, but they...
Yeah, they look like themselves.
And I didn't know In Excess. Because that was not my jam.
Right.
When I was a little kid, which is the time when they were. But the lead singer, whose name I don't know.
I think it's Michael Hutchins or something like that.
That sounds about right. I don't know for sure. I was like, that sounds right. And I'm like, I have no clue. So that sounds like a name I've heard before. I'll say that.
Okay. Great.
I didn't know who he was or anything. And what's their big hit? I know that they have one. I Need You Tonight. Is that it? Is that them?
Yeah, they did that one. The Devil Inside, something like that. I don't know. I don't know In Excess too much.
Yeah.
Putting me on the spot here.
It wasn't a big deal in my house, and I didn't know anything about them.
Right.
So when I went down to this crypt thing, like they don't have like name plaques, or they didn't at the time that I remember, saying like who these people were supposed to be. And I thought, so he's passed away, the lead singer.
Right.
I thought that his figure was Jim Morrison.
Okay.
From the Doors.
I could see that.
Because they kind of look alike.
Yeah, sure.
And I had no idea what In Excess was. So anyway.
So you took a picture with the lead singer from In Excess, thinking that it was Jim Morrison. Ooh.
Yeah. But I'm glad that if it had to happen, it happened with a wax figure and not like...
Oh, yeah.
In real
that's
life.
True.
That'd be a pretty hard mistake to make since he died about 30 years earlier. But,
and then, there's that as well. Oh, my God. Okay,
saying.
This is so silly.
Yeah. Like I said, it was a side story.
Okay, great.
Now back to our regular scheduled program. So, what other interesting facts did we learn about... Oh, speaking of people... So Kiefer Sutherland wasn't going to do the movie, but apparently there were two actors who were considered for roles in the movie. And when you read it online, they make it sound like, oh, this person almost played so-and-so, and this person was like one of the top finalists to be so-and-so.
Yeah.
But there's really no information. They just both happened to mention that they auditioned for the movie.
Yes, they were at the audition.
Yeah. So
Right.
who knows what role they would have ended up playing, or if they were even being
Exactly.
seriously considered.
Right.
But these people are Ben Stiller
Mm-hmm.
and Jim Carrey.
Right. Yes, I forgot about Jim Carrey. Yeah.
And people are like, well, I don't know. I think it would have been a different movie if these people had been involved. And of course, changing any actor is going to change part of the movie.
Sure.
But I think the thing to keep in mind is neither one of them were who they would become yet. Like
Yeah.
Ben Stiller wasn't Ben Stiller in 1987.
Right.
Jim Carrey wasn't Jim Carrey
Right.
in 1987.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they would have played the roles differently, whatever roles they ended up in. But I don't think Ben Stiller was going to come in like playing David and doing like his Zoolander
Yeah.
character. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not.
No, I agree with that.
So I don't find it's quite so like outrageous as some of these.
No.
Maybe that's why the show doesn't have a huge fan base, because I'm not outraged by things all the time. Like I need to play it up. Like, did you know Ben Stiller was almost David in Lost Boys? Can you imagine what that would have been? Oh my God, it's so zany.
No, don't do that.
No, I wouldn't.
Okay, good.
But I'm just saying.
Yeah, no.
Let's talk about some of the rest of the cast. You have Jason Patric
Right.
as the main protagonist. Michael.
Yeah.
He's the older brother that turns into a vampire.
Yeah.
And of course, Kiefer Sutherland. And we talked about the two Coreys. Diane Weiss. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Diane Weiss is the mom of the Emerson family.
Right.
And a somewhat overlooked, although now I think it's pretty well known that he's in the movie, but one of the Lost Boys, a fellow named Marko, is played by Alex Winter, a.k.a. Bill S. Preston Esquire, from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bogus Journey.
Okay.
So when I was a kid, that kind of blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember, honestly, which movie I saw first. I don't know if I saw Lost Boys. Like, I know I didn't see it in the theater, obviously, but I'm
Yeah.
sure I saw it pretty soon after it came out, because I remember being young and watching it on video or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill and Ted, I forget what year that came out, but
I
it
don't
wasn't like
remember.
crazy long after that,
Yeah, probably.
because I was still young when part 2 came out. So, but anyway, I did recognize him.
He has
and I
a
was
very
like, oh.
distinctive look.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because probably, I don't know if it's my first or second favorite thing in this movie,
Oh.
is Marko's jacket.
Okay. I don't really remember his jacket.
Let me pull up a picture for you.
Okay. Well, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a denim jacket,
Okay.
but it's covered in patches and, as I've learned, other things. There's a guy online who did a very thorough recreation of Marko's jacket.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which I think is probably the pictures that I'm about to pull up. But he like studied it and got all the exact patches, and like there's pieces of tapestry. He like found the tapestry that they used
Wow.
to create it. So it's very thorough, but it's a very colorful kind of patchwork deal. And he's just this like he's kind of a minor character. He's the first one to die.
Mm-hmm.
They kill him before like the big climactic battle at the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't say much in the movie.
No.
He also has a crazy mullet. He might have the craziest of the mullets, actually,
Yeah.
because his is all short and curly on top, but long, like almost down to his butt, probably. Mullet in the back.
Yeah.
And it's like banana curls.
It's pretty.
And interesting fact here, he's got a Warriors patch
Oh, really?
from the movie The Warriors on the back there.
Who's that lady?
That is a very disturbed looking lady on the back. I don't know
okay.
exactly.
It looked like Jami Gertz from far away.
It's not Jami Gertz, but
Okay.
Jami Gertz also in the movie.
Yeah.
She's Star,
Yeah.
who's like the only female vampire in this Lost Boys clan, but she's very sympathetic to Michael.
Yes.
Kind of falls in love with Michael, it seems.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like, yeah, I'm a vampire, but I'm not super into it. But like, you know,
And she was kind of like a mother figure to that little vampire,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I'm blanking on his name, but
I don't know.
there's like a little kid vampire that dresses like a Sergeant Pepper's guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Marko's jacket, just very colorful, lots of patches. It's dope.
Pretty cool.
It's one of the best things in the movie. My other favorite things, there's the bottle that they make Michael drink out of in the beginning when they're like in their cave, and this I suppose is vampire blood that they're drinking.
Okay.
And it's going to turn him into a vampire
Right.
if he drinks it.
Yeah.
It begins the process anyway. Because that's one of the ways you can turn into a vampire. Either the vampire bites you and doesn't
drink
kill
the
you,
blood.
or you drink the blood of a vampire.
Right.
So that's what's happening here. But Michael doesn't know this, of course. He just thinks it's wine. But they give it to him in this, it's just a glass bottle, but it's got like a outer casing.
Yeah.
Which is like metal with like gemstones on it. And I'm a sucker for
gemstones,
bejeweled bottles.
You are, I guess.
Yeah. That's something else I should make at home. I'm going to start my own Etsy store of just Lost Boys recreations.
Okay.
I can't be the only one.
No, I'm
right
sure
in,
you
right
are
into
not.
the show. If you're a big fan of Marko's Jacket, good name for a band, and the Vampire Blood Bottle, also a good name for a band.
Okay.
My other favorite thing we're going to
Yes.
get to later on.
Oh, okay.
But it's something you already know all about.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So what else is Jami Gertz and Jason Patrick? Have they done anything else of note? I'm sure that they have.
Jami Gertz was huge in the 80s. She was in so many movies.
Yeah?
Yeah. She was in a movie called Less Than Zero with Andrew McCarthy and Robert Downey Jr. It was a really cool movie.
She's very pretty.
She was she? I think she was in the show Square Pegs. You know what? You're too young. You're too young for this.
They used to show Square Pegs in repeats, like in the '90s on USA or something like that.
Yes.
But I didn't really watch it. But I remember the
think she
theme
was
song.
in that movie, and yeah, there was a really cool theme song. Sarah Jessica Parker was in it as well. And she was in other 80s movies.
I know that they were in.
Iconic.
I did not remember this because I haven't seen the movie in forever. But there was a movie called Solar Babies, I think is what it was called.
Okay.
And I might be getting it confused with a different movie, but I'm pretty sure it was Solar Babies. It was a weird movie. They had to play like this. It's a weird movie.
Okay.
But it's like, but it was her and Jason Patrick.
Oh, they were in
again.
they were in a movie together.
Yeah, and I remember it was before, or actually, I think it was before Lost Boys, and I think that is how she kind of like wormed her way into Lost Boys.
I feel like Jami Gertz was more popular than Jason Patrick. I didn't know Jason Patrick until this movie, till Lost Boys. Jami Gertz has been around. She's kind of iconic from the 80s.
Right,
I'm telling
you.
you.
I've been sleeping on Jami Gertz. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
you have. Oh, yeah. That's how she wormed her way into Lost Boys? No.
Well, I didn't need to phrase it like she had it like something shady had to happen. But I think
No, I feel like it was in
But
reverse.
no, I feel like in the research I was doing, I saw that someone else was supposed to be her or something like that.
Oh, okay. I don't.
And then
doubt
someone
that.
was like, "No, try this woman because I've worked with her before, and she's super dope."
Is that how it happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is wrong with you?
What is wrong with you?
We're gonna fight again.
No, we're not fighting. But I'm just saying, Jami Gertz was the bomb back in the day. So
legit.
And even now, she's still doing stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Diane Weiss, she was in a bunch of stuff for like she had a string. She was in Beetlejuice, of course.
Was she?
I'm sorry, not Beetlejuice. Edward Scissorhands.
Okay.
Yeah. She's the mom on Edward Scissorhands.
Right.
And she was the mom on a lot of things. And
yes, she was.
She was just in a bunch of stuff.
She was in Parenthood, the movie with Steve Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's really great too. And then later she was in Law and Order as the DA.
Fair enough. And who else is in this movie? Well, let's just talk about it.
Oh, we're just going to talk about it?
Yeah.
What are we going to talk about?
My friend and yours.
Yes.
Timmy Cappallo. Now, if you don't know that name, you would know him better as, perhaps, the muscle-bound, greased-up sax man.
Gyrating sax man.
Yeah, who sings the song
He got the moves.
I Still Believe. And he sings it on the soundtrack, but he's also in the film
Yep.
when they're on the boardwalk attending a concert. And Corey Haim is really into him.
Yeah, I would be into him.
Michael's more into Star, who's over his shoulder. And
Star
Corey Haim,
is
Star's,
Jami Gertz.
Yeah.
Got it.
but Corey Haim like turns Michael's head to be like, no, look at this greased up guy on stage. There's a lot of weird stuff going on with Corey Haim.
They did bring that up.
We'll come back to
All
that
right,
in a second. Let's
please.
finish talking about my friend Timmy.
Yes.
Now, he's listed as Tim Cappallo, and if you look for him, that's the professional name that he goes by. I call him Timmy because when I met him, that's how he introduced himself.
You met him.
I did.
Yeah.
But so did you.
I know. I was there.
Yeah. This was just, what, last year?
It was last year.
Yeah. And he has come to horror conventions before.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always thought it would be cool to like meet him, get his autograph and everything. But he was kind of like low on my priority list. Like, he's only in the movie for a minute. It's an important minute. Don't get me wrong.
I know. Yeah.
But it's an iconic minute.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, if I have to choose between him and Anne Margaret, who I love,
Right.
I'm going to go with Anne Margaret, you know,
Okay.
and I have a budget, unfortunately. I
Yes.
can't just go and get everybody at these
That's
conventions.
right. That's right.
But he'd been a few times, and I hadn't been able to get to him. So last time we went, or last year when we went, I was like, well, you know, I have my Lost Boys poster. I'm gonna bring that. I'm gonna have him sign it.
Right.
And did I pick a good year or what? Because not only was he there, he was wearing the costume from the movie.
Yeah.
Except he wears like a muscle shirt. He wasn't topless like he was in the movie.
Right. And he wasn't greased up.
He wasn't greased up.
Yeah.
But he was wearing the chain necklace. He was wearing the
right.
purple like tie-dye pants and the
Yeah.
chain belt with the cod piece and everything.
And he still has the hair. It was pulled back.
Yeah, it's a little lighter now, and it's
Yeah.
but you know, he's got the ponytail.
Yeah.
He's got the saxophone.
Yeah.
He's still got the muscles. Like maybe not as big as they were in
No,
1987.
he's still
but
rocking it.
Yeah, he's still an in-shape guy.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to report a very nice guy.
Oh, he was so sweet.
Yeah.
He was so sweet.
And I'm going to tell you people what I told him in person about this scene. Yes, it's one scene in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But as a kid, it captured my imagination. Because I was a kid who was very into wrestling.
Yes.
Like loved Hulk Hogan, WWF, all that. I was all about it.
Right.
So when I saw this movie, this guy stuck out to me because he looks like a wrestler.
He did look like a wrestler. You're right.
And he was singing this awesome song, which I, as you know, still love to this day, on my phone to this day, rock out to it every time it comes on. And I know what you're going to say.
You need to learn the words.
Yes. I don't understand all the words that he says. So sometimes there's a little mumbling, but I always give you a nice, strong...
Through the night.
I still believe.
I still believe.
Because I do still believe. But my point is...
Yes.
It captured my imagination, and I always wondered, like, what's the deal with this guy?
Right.
Like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And before the internet, you couldn't really find out.
Sure.
But it turns out that he is well known in his own right as a sax man.
Yeah.
Played for Tina Turner,
Who knew?
like, all through the 80s.
You know what? He's a talented saxophone player for sure. There is a point, though, in the song where I feel like, and I love you, Tim Cappallo, but there's a point where I feel like he kills that saxophone. And not in a good way.
It's the passion. It's the passion and the struggle. That's what the song is about.
That saxophone sounds like it's about to die.
That's what the song is about. That's what life is. You feel like you're about to die.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yes.
So he's
that's what
killing that
does.
saxophone? Like legit murdering it?
Well, that's the way it feels. That's the way it's supposed to make you feel. You don't understand art, see?
Ah, okay. Got it.
I'm trying to help you learn things.
Thank you.
Get cultured.
Yeah, thank you.
And anyway, so I said to myself when I was watching this, and this is what I said to Tim, I said, when I watched that, I looked at that and I said, well, this guy has got it all.
Oh.
He's got the muscles.
Mm-hmm.
He's able to get up and jam on stage in front of people.
Super talented.
And the crowd loves him.
Right.
They were loving it.
Yeah.
Even Star was over in the corner dancing.
Yeah.
Jami Gertz.
Yeah.
I would love to have Jami Gertz dance around while I was singing. And like greased up. And yes, he does dance in a provocative manner.
Oh, yeah.
But you know who else did? A little guy named Elvis Presley. And it took him right to the top, despite Ed Sullivan.
Okay.
So you tell me.
I'm not telling you anything.
You're not allowed to dance provocatively.
Did people say he shouldn't be dancing? I think
people on the things, they always say like, oh, it's so weird that he like fucks the saxophone.
I see what you're
well,
saying. Okay.
What was Elvis doing? What is Madonna doing when she's rolling around like a virgin?
Okay.
Just saying. Sex is part of rock and roll. And yes,
sax is part of rock and roll.
He's the sexy, greased up sax man. And I'll tell you this too. People who want to shit on like, oh, he's only in it for a movie. He's basically the Boba Fett of Lost Boys. Because Boba Fett is like hardly in the Star Wars movies. Mm-hmm. When they did the releases, they kind of added him in a couple scenes. But in the original trilogy, he's hardly in it. And yet, he's a very popular character. And that is Tim Cappallo in this movie.
Okay, yeah.
He's hardly in it.
Yeah.
But to me and the other believers out there, he's a crucial part of this movie. And we like I said, he captures the imagination, and you wonder about this greased up sax man. And I know I'm not alone.
No, I know you're not.
Because not too long ago on Saturday Night Live, they did a thing with Sergio with John Hamm playing, definitely supposed to be the greased up sax man from Lost Boys.
Right.
There's no question that it's supposed to be the same guy. They call him Sergio, but whatever.
Yeah, no, you showed it to me.
So 30 years later,
yeah,
people are still
You are so passionate about Tim Cappallo.
Listen, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I'm putting it out there.
Yeah.
Tim Cappallo, if you want to come on the show and talk about Lost Boys, I'd be happy to have you. And I think he would probably do it.
He probably would. He was so sweet.
I should have slipped him a
really
card.
Nice guy. Yeah.
If I ever see him again at a convention, I'm gonna.
Right. Yeah.
Because he used to have his own website. Now he doesn't.
Oh. Okay.
But I don't know if he's got Twitter or Facebook or something. But we'll try to get in touch with him.
Okay. All right.
Anyway. Oh, and also recently there was a really sweet ass Christmas sweater that had a picture of him playing the saxophone, and it said, "I still believe," and Santa Claus was flying over his head.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
I like that.
That would be a good Christmas
sweater. Did you
sweater.
get it?
I didn't, but I'm just saying.
Okay.
Again, the fact that someone thinks to make that.
Yeah.
Shows you.
Sure, he was...
Believers.
Yeah. He was a big part of that movie.
Yeah. Even though less than a minute.
Yeah.
So as much as I love the movie, and I think that it's a funny and amusing movie, there are some things, some questions that stick out in my mind.
Okay.
First of all, again, spoilers. But the vampires, like the Kiefer Sutherland and Marko and everybody else, how old are they supposed to be? And I don't mean like how old are they at the time now, but I mean like how long have they been vampires for?
Yeah.
Are they newly created
question.
vampires? Or are they vampires from like 200 years ago?
Right.
And I guess it doesn't really make a difference, except that they definitely act in kind of a juvenile manner. Like trying to initiate Michael into their vampire cult.
Yeah.
So that would make me think that they are like new vampires, and they were just, probably within the past year or two turned into vampires. And that's why they are dressed the way that they are, because they all dress like rock stars.
Right.
Every single one of them could have been in Guns N' Roses or something.
Yeah.
Or like Motley Crue or something like that.
That's right.
And, well, I'd say Guns N' Roses because they're kind of dirty looking. Motley Crue was like a little more makeup-y and stuff,
Yeah.
But not quite Poison level, but still. Anyway.
Oh my God.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they all look like rock stars. So if that's the way that they dressed before they were turned, maybe that's one thing. But if they just decided to dress that way, it's probably a really bad choice. Because most of the time, if you're like a horrible monster demon of the night, you want to like keep it low profile.
True.
You don't want to look like the rock band that just got off the tour bus.
But I mean, I think it takes place in the 80s. I think they were like 80s appropriate, right?
But they looked really good is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Like they could have been, people would have noticed them is my personal.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had older brothers and sisters in the 80s. They didn't look like that.
Right, but I also feel like when they did that like opening sequence of the boardwalk and like all the people on, there were a lot of like
people.
rock type.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that a fancy youth-oriented boardwalk in California is a little hipper than Ashland,
right.
Massachusetts.
Exactly.
But I'm just saying, I still think they
different.
would like stick out.
All right.
Especially Marko's jacket.
Yeah.
That shit was dope.
They were cool vampires.
The other thing is, and I hate to bring this up.
Oh, no.
Diane Weiss is perfectly lovely.
Yes.
Do not get me wrong.
Okay.
But she is not what you would describe as a hottie, necessarily.
Okay.
She does seem very nice and pleasant.
Yeah.
But my point is this. Max, who works at the video store where Diane's character ends
Max
up working.
is an older dude.
Yeah, he's like a square, like middle-aged man kind of guy.
Right.
But it turns out that he is, in fact, the head vampire, not David.
Right.
He's the head vampire.
Right.
And this whole thing has been so that, like, his plan to get, I think her name's Lucy in the movie, but Diane's character to, like, oh, look, we turned your son into a vampire, and now you can be with me, and, we'll have my boys and your boys, and we'll all be one big, happy
vampire family,
blood-sucking Brady Bunch, as Corey Haim's character aptly puts it.
Oh.
But here's the thing, though. What about Diane Weiss is this guy going, like, so crazy for that he's, like, risking the lives of his boys to get?
What?
Like, if she was, like, a stone cold hottie or something like that, like...
No, I think she was definitely appropriate. She has 2 children. She's probably a divorcee. I think she was completely appropriate. I don't understand what you're trying to say here.
I'm trying to say, like, he's putting his vampire empire at risk.
Yeah, you go for the one who probably is, I don't want to say desperate, but who she doesn't have many suitors. I don't know.
Yeah, like you're like getting hot about this.
I know, I'm kind of mad right now.
What are you mad about?
I don't know. I'm mad that you think that he should have been going for a hottie. First of all, what hottie's going to go for him?
No, that's true. It's not like he was bringing a lot to the table.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like, I'm just saying what was it about her that he was like, I have to have this. This is my woman.
Well, yeah. I mean, did he really want her or did he want those kids?
No, because at the end he was like, no, I still want you, Lucy.
Oh, really?
I haven't changed my mind. Yeah.
Okay.
Right before he tries to bite her.
So maybe
it's just true love.
Yeah.
He's truly in love with her.
Right. And you can't believe that someone would be in love with Diane Weiss?
No, like I said, she seems she's pretty enough. Like, she's not like, she's not going to be a pinup calendar, but she's an attractive woman, and she seems very nice.
Yeah.
She's trying to make it work.
I think she's very sweet
on her own.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that she's unlovable.
She was
by
living
any
in
means.
a nice house.
I'm just saying you're an immortal vampire with, like, tremendous power, and you choose, like, this mousy, short-haired,
that's who
middle-aged
came along.
mom.
That's who came along. Maybe he thought he had a better shot with her.
It's very interesting. And then he, like, manages a video store. It's there's more. I wish we knew more about this Max character, like his inner motivations. He seems like an interesting I think the writers and the director and everybody else involved with the movie, and probably most of the people who watch it, just don't care and just don't think about these kinds of things.
Yeah, I didn't really
But
care.
to me, it's just like, but what's going on here?
I think it was really about the Lost Boys,
Yeah.
not about Max.
Yeah, I know.
And his love for mousy Diane Weiss.
Yeah. But I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'd like to explore that. Maybe
All
with
right.
some fan fiction.
Okay.
Because it seems like, at the end, he seems like a big, powerful vampire, but I think really there's some inner conflict going on. Like maybe he feels like he doesn't deserve his vampire powers, like he's not worthy of being a vampire, like he's kind of like a low rent vampire. I'm just saying. I think there's some inner struggle probably going on.
I didn't really think that much into it.
Yeah, well, that's why we're different.
That's right.
Different strokes for different folks.
That's right.
So Fatima, give us a big, long dialogue about your final thoughts on this movie.
Yeah, no, that's not happening.
But could you sum up your feelings on this movie at least?
I mean, I liked the movie. I thought it was real 80s. I'm a big music person, so I loved the music in the movie.
Oh, speaking of the music in the movie, one
Yeah.
more thing I forgot to point out.
Okay.
At a certain point, I started humming along with the Calliope music.
Oh.
And you were like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, well, I love Calliope music for one thing.
There's nothing wrong with me.
But To the Shock of Miss Louise, I believe, is the name of the track.
Oh, okay.
And it's actually on the soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a Lost Boys fan, that famous Calliope music that you hear as they walk through the boardwalk, that can be all yours. So yeah, I hum along with it.
Do you also want to mention that I Still Believe was actually a cover that Tim
yeah.
Cappallo did?
Yeah.
And we actually heard the original?
Yeah, so I Still Believe, as Fatima just said, is a cover. And the original version only came out the year before.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know all the details. Maybe when he comes on the show, Tim Cappallo can tell us exactly how this all shook out.
He stole it.
But it was originally by a group called The Call.
Mm-hmm.
And their version features no saxophone at all. And I think if you go back and listen to it, you'll find that Timmy's version is the superior version, but also B, that the sax really adds a lot. Like when you don't hear that like sax sting, that bing, 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 it's like it's missing.
I do agree that it does add a certain something to the song, except for the parts where he's killing.
Well, there are parts where it doesn't sound pretty. That is true.
Yeah.
But that, again, it's about feeling, not about right notes.
Okay. Got it.
You're feeling the struggle.
Okay.
So would you recommend this? Would you recommend this movie to anybody? And if so, who?
I would recommend I would recommend this movie. I would recommend it to people who love the 80s and love music.
Now, see, I think what you didn't mention is more important than what you did mention, because what you didn't mention there is you didn't say, I would recommend this like for horror fans, which I would recommend it for horror fans, but I also think this is a good movie for people who think they don't like horror movies.
Yeah.
Because it's a horror movie, but it's not like horrifying.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
It's more comedy than horror.
Right.
Like
yeah.
not even in the American Werewolf sense. Like it's not as scary as American Werewolf.
No, I wouldn't even put it in. Me personally wouldn't put. I know it's in that category, but I wouldn't put it in the horror category.
Oh, one more interesting thing that I wanted to bring up. There was supposed to be a sequel called Lost Girls.
Right.
Which sounds like it was essentially going to be the same movie over again, except this time they'd be female bikers.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it's probably going to suck. No pun intended. God. But the reason I thought to bring that up now is because Kiefer Sutherland's character, David, he dies in the movie. But does he, though? Because all the other vampires, like, either explode or turn into goo or, like, they, something very dramatic happens when they die.
Right.
When Kiefer dies, he just kind of, like, breathes his last and, like, sprawls out on these antlers, which he's been impaled on. He doesn't disappear or turn into ash or blow up or turn into goo or anything.
Yeah.
And that was done on purpose because he was supposed to make another appearance in the sequel.
And then it never happened?
It never happened, but they did eventually make sequels in the 2000s.
Later on.
Yeah, which were terrible. I only saw the first sequel, which was called Lost Boys The Tribe, and then there's Lost Boys The Thirst, but I didn't see The Thirst. The Tribe was not very good. If you see online, they will say that only Corey Feldman appears as the only returning original cast member. That is not true. If you wait, like I did, there is a scene at the end of the credits where Corey Haim does appear.
Really?
Yeah. As Sam.
Oh.
And it turns out he's a vampire now. But then it's over. It's not worth, trust me, it's not worth going into, but yeah.
Oh boy, I didn't know that.
But in the next sequel, you have both original Frog brothers, Corey Feldman and the other guy.
The other one.
With the black hair. But I never saw it, and I don't imagine it's any good. I've only heard terrible things about it, so. And like Lost Boys, The Tribe wasn't even like so bad it's good. It was just bad.
Okay.
You know, so I don't recommend that one. But definitely would recommend Lost Boys. Like I said, even if you're not even if you're not a horror fan, if you're listening to this show, you probably are, but maybe you have others in your family that aren't so much, and you can sell it to them as like, no, it's like an 80s teen comedy as much as it is a horror movie.
Right.
Probably more so. And it's got a kick-ass soundtrack, like you say.
That's right.
So, and lots of 80s fashion.
Love it. And Jami Gertz.
And Jami Gertz. And, oh, you know, so I forgot to mention also who else I've met from this movie. So Alex Winter I've met, but I didn't get a picture of him as Marko because, of course, bigger in my life for him was Bill and Ted. So I got a signed picture from Bill and Ted's. But I did talk to him. He was very nice. And he doesn't do a ton of stuff acting-wise, it doesn't seem, these days. But he's very busy behind the scenes, and he's moved into like directing and producing, and he does a lot of cool stuff. I've heard a lot of interviews with him where he talks about cool stuff. So definitely Alex Winter, keep him on your radar. And I met Corey Haim, actually.
Really?
Yeah, and he signed my Lost Boys poster.
Cool.
And well, he passed away, you know. Yeah. And I don't like to speak ill of the dead, but he did have kind of a creepy vibe to him.
Oh.
I met him at the Rock and Shock convention in Worcester, Massachusetts. I don't remember the year, but obviously it was before 2010, and which is when he passed away. And he signed my poster, and he was nice enough to me. He signed it "Death by Stereo," which is a quote from the movie, because the vampires all have these big elaborate deaths, and one of them is through the stereo. But he was signing it, and he looked up and saw these like two attractive young women kind of walking by, and he like told his manager, he's like, "Hey, go get them, bring them over here. Do they know I'm from Lost Boys?"
Ooh.
It was like and then he like wanted nothing to do with me, like, you know, he like signed it, and he's like, "Okay, here you go," and he like slid it to me, and I don't think he was successful in getting those ladies over to his table anyway, but
oh boy.
Hey, listen, maybe 20 years earlier that would have worked, but like, hey, I'm Corey Haim, but now he's like looking at 20-year-olds and being like, oh, they'll be impressed. I was a big star 20 years ago. It was rough.
That's yucky.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously he wasn't able to turn his life around, and he was full of bad choices, but
right.
This is something that Corey Feldman talks a lot about, and says that, you know, he had these issues because of growing up in Hollywood and abuse that went on, although Corey Feldman doesn't like to get very specific about what accusations he's actually making, but it seems like something bad probably happened multiple times to both of these Coreys.
Right.
And he's probably not lying if we've learned anything about Hollywood over these past few years.
Yep.
So that's unfortunate. And what a way to end the show.
I was going to say, I feel like we should end on a happy
Marko's
note.
jacket. I
still believe.
I still believe. I'm going to try to recreate Marko's jacket. I'm going to try to recreate the wine bottle holder. I will serve it at the next tree decorating party, perhaps.
Okay.
And I think that's about it. Any final thoughts from you?
Nope.
How'd you enjoy being on the show again?
Oh, it was great.
How'd you enjoy your last time?
It was good.
Like I said, write in, and you can do that by going to spookyas.com. And we got the email there. You can write in and tell Fatima, no, please don't go. We love you so much. We love it when you're on. You add a little spice to the show with your feistiness, picking fights with Eric all the time. And you can also find our social media links. Hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at SpookyAssShit. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/SpookyAS. And don't forget to join the closed group if you really want to talk and share your thoughts and not be judged by the public. That's the Spookaroos on Facebook. All right. That's the end of this episode.
That's it.
Until next time, don't be afraid.